Hello and welcome back to Snap Models. Dreadnought episode 3. Blimey. Right, what we're going to do this time, edge highlighting, and later on we'll do heat plumbing. Now then, edge highlighting. Let's talk about it for a little bit. A lot of people make a bit of a mistake. Okay, edge highlighting is about lighting, and what you need to do is, especially if you're doing an army, you need to work out where your light is coming from and then stick to it. What you need to do, the best way of doing it, is get yourself a little notebook. Okay, every miniature you do, write in your notebook and then put a little note at the top. Okay, that's the colours I've used, so I can go back in 10 years time and I can paint another one of these and it will look exactly the same colours. Write down your base colour, write down your colours that you're using, okay, and then also what I do is I put a little symbol at the top, little symbol of the sun, TRF. Top right front is where the light is hitting the miniature from. Let me show you. What we'll do, we'll use my light on my phone. We'll turn the lighting down. Oops, getting all dark. Right then, we've got the front armour plate for. Now look, if you have a look, let me get a pointy stick thing. Right. You see where the light is now hitting? This is from the top right at the front. Alright, so all these edges are highlighted. These aren't. There's a little bit on this side. There's none back here, and there's certainly none down here, and there's none behind. Alright, every edge on this side, a little bit at the front, a little bit on here, right, a tiny bit here, alright, but nothing over here. So you've got to work out. It becomes easier. The more you do it, it becomes easier. But you must write down. Let's turn that off. Let's turn the lighting back up. Click, 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 click. Right, there we go. So if you write down where your light's coming from for your army, okay. So when you paint your Space Marines, when you paint a Rhino, do it the same, so it's consistent of your whole army. Otherwise, what will happen is, yeah, it'll look great on the tabletop, alright, but somebody will look at it and think, there's something wrong with that. It looks amazing, it looks beautiful, it's incredible paint job, but there's something in the back of their mind that's saying that something's not right, and it'll probably take them weeks to work it out. Hang on a minute, the lighting's wrong. It's all. Now, for standard tabletop gaming, yeah, that's fine. We're going to edge highlight. I like to do it my way. You could edge highlight the entire thing. There's nothing wrong with doing that at all, as long as everything you do is done like that. Your whole army is done like that, because there's nothing to say the light's not coming straight from down from the top. I just like to do it that way, especially if I'm doing something if I was going to enter a competition. It's where a lot of people fail when they enter miniatures for competitions. They don't think about where the source of the light is coming from and what would be highlighted and what would be shadowed. And they'll paint the entire thing and they'll highlight all of it, and it'll look nice, but it won't win the competition. See what I mean? Just think about plan your builds. Think about what your miniature is going to look like at the end. All right? And if you're doing this way, always stick. My light is coming from the top right. My right hand side of my figures are all going to be highlighted. My left hand side is going to be shadowed a bit. All right? And honestly, your miniatures will look a lot better. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stick to edge highlighting from my top right hand side. Now if you want to, there's nothing to stop you. There's nothing wrong with with highlighting all of it, edge highlighting all of it. You know, as long as your entire army looks like that, that's totally fine. Alright, so how do we edge highlight? Right. It's actually the most tedious thing to do. It takes the longest of any process to edge highlight. Now, what you don't want to do, let me just lick my brush. What you don't want to do is you don't want to use the point of your brush if you can help it. You want to use the edge. Right? It will give you, let's just put the brush in, give it a twist and a pull back. Right. If you use the edge of your brush and literally run it along the edge with the side of the brush. Alright, and the same with the rivets. Try and use the side of the brush. Okay. Now, if you try and use the point, it's very difficult to get a straight line. But by using the edge of the brush, you'll always get a very nice, neat edge highlight. It's not always possible to do it this way. Sometimes you have to get in with the edge of the brush, and it can be a real pain, sometimes really frustrating. And the same as anything, you have to build it up. Alright, there's not a lot there, it doesn't look a lot, but once I've built it up a couple of times, and this is what I mean about it's the longest, tedious part of painting miniatures, edge highlighting, but it gives you an incredible effect when it's done, and it is worth doing. There is another method, which is dry brushing, and if you're just preparing an army for the table, there's nothing wrong with that. And what I'll do later on, we'll just use a Space Marine or something, and I'll show you a dry brushed highlighting. Right, now you see how that's gone now? Now this is dry now, so I can go in again with the edge of the brush, and I can make it even lighter. Okay. Right, so what I'll do is I'll pause this now. You've seen the basic technique, how to do this. I'll pause it, and then I'll carry on doing the rest of Mr. Dreadnought. And I'll see you in about a day, for me, in a couple of minutes, a split second for you, when all this is edge highlighted, and then we'll get on with doing some heat bluing. So I'll see you in a minute, in a second. It's Time Machine. Time Machine. Now it's been 36 hours for me. It's been a nanosecond for you. But all my edge highlighting is now done to how I like it. So what we're going to do now, I'll show you on the arm, see if you can. Now you see how that's given a definite where the light would hit the panels. It's a simple technique, but it is very long. It takes a long time to do, but it's definitely worth doing. Alright, you just got to practice it, and always remember, use the edge of your brush, not the point. It'll give you a much nicer line. Right, then what we're going to do now is we're going to do some heat pluming. Now this is a really simple model to do it on, because we don't have to worry about blending inks together. We'll use the natural shape to separation. So we're going to do blue on the end, and the first two holes in the flash, well, I guess it's some sort of flash eliminator, some muzzle brake or whatever, and then we'll do the last hole and the gap in between the band and the muzzle brake in a brown colour, and then we'll do the edge, this part, as a purple. Now we've got separation now, so we don't have to worry about blending. It's a very simple model to do it on. But one thing you must be aware of is, let me show you on a piece of paper. When you're using inks and washes and paints, what happens is, you start to put a bit of paint on. Load up a little brush a little bit. Right. Wherever you finish your stroke, you're always going to get a little tiny blob. You're always going to get a darker colour, a more concentration of paint or ink or whatever it is at the end of the line. Wherever you stop and take the brush off, that's going to give you the deepest colour. So when you're inking or using a wash or even paints, where you want the darkest colour to be, that's where you end your brush stroke. Right? So let's get in. We'll start at the easy end. We'll start at the blue end. We're just going to use a blue ink, and we're literally just going to go mad. Now you don't want to do this cover. Okay, just get it in there. And the same as anything, this is going to take 2 or 3 coats depending on the intensity that you want it. The more you do it, the darker it will be. The less you do it, the more subtle it will be. Even if you're going for very subtle, you're going to need 2 passes. And you must let this dry for at least half an hour. It has to be totally dry before you go on and try and put another coat on. Shaky hands. Now don't worry if you get on the silver bit, because we can go back later on when it's totally dry and just touch it up. It's not a problem. Don't slap it on, but don't overly worry. As long as it's not super fine detail you've painted before, you can always go back in and touch up. If you've done some fancy scroll work on something and it's, obviously you don't want to go back in and try and touch that up. But it's just a flat colour, like this chromy silver colour, it's fine. Doesn't matter, just let it dry. Go back in and touch up later on. Right, so we'll get the blue down. And then we'll get a brownie colour. I'm just using, for this particular bit, I'm just going to use Reichlin Flesh Shade. Just drop it in there. And where this is an ink and a wash, it'll just run straight in there. You don't have to be too fancy. And then let's get in this middle bit. Let's put it down. I got the shakes this morning, I don't know why. And literally, we just want to leave this once we've done it. I said we want to leave it at least a good half an hour for it to dry. And then we'll get our purple. Now then, this is where you're going to have to finish your stroke at the end. So you want the most of the colour down this end. Now it will pool a little bit, and if it's pooling too much, just go in and wick some off with a semi-damp brush or a dry brush. And that's that simple to do on this particular miniature, because you don't have to worry about blending the colours together, because we've got these solid lines, solid definition between the two. Right. Let's just wipe that off there. Right, so now we need to leave that. Let's pop it up against something. leave that to dry for a little bit. Are you going to pop up? Yeah, right then. So what we'll do in the meantime is let's put this together. Really simple, really simple. It is totally and utterly push fit, and because we painted it, it will be a bit stiff. What I'll do later on, I'll probably go back in later on and glue this all together. Right, so I think what I'll do is I'll just use a bit of extra thin where the pegs are going to go in. I'll be very, very careful with plastic glue because it's designed to melt plastic, and what I'll do, if you get it on the paint, it will totally ruin. Ooh, blimey. It will totally ruin whatever paint job you've previously put on. So be very, very careful. Don't glue an edge that you've painted, or it will totally and absolutely ruin it. And this just pushes in. There he is. And then we'll push that arm on. Now we'll leave that arm off for a minute because we're still going to be working on it. And I say, all that beautiful work we did, all that scroll work, all the laurel leaf, yeah, it's gone now. These always seem to be a tiny bit too far apart, the holes for the legs. I don't know why. And apart from his arm that we're working on and the decals, that's him nearly done. So what I'll do now, I'll pause this for a little bit until that dries, and then we'll give it a second coat, and then we'll stick some decals on and we're done. So I'll see you in half an hour for me, ish, half a second for you. It's a time machine. Right, that's had time to dry now, and we'll give a purple another, just a tiny little go. The rest of it, the blue and the brown, I'm quite happy with. It's entirely up to you how intense you want the colours to be. The more intense you want it, the more coats you do. Just do a coat, leave it to dry, do another coat. Doesn't matter if it takes you a week. You could have it like pretty much glowing with colour if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. I just prefer it to be quite subtle, and the fact that these are the new Primaris dreadnoughts, it wouldn't have seen heaps of amounts of action. So I'm going to keep it quite subtle, but then, like we always say, it's your model, it's your figure, you do whatever you want to it. Right then, so we'll leave that to dry. In the meantime, I can touch up this, just the gunmetal parts, just using the side of the brush, and just tidy it up a little bit. You may want yours to be bloomed on this bit, it's entirely up to you. I'm just going to leave the pluming and the bloomings on the barrels themselves. And there we go. See how simple that was, because we've got the defined lines that we don't have to worry about blending. So easy to do it on this dreadnought, it's beautiful. Right then, so we'll stick his arm on. And apart from the decals, that's him done. So what I'll do, I won't show you doing decals, we'll do that in a separate video. I'll just stick decals on now, and then we'll post some pictures and we'll call him done. So thank you for watching. It really is a nice one. It's a beautiful figure. It's a beautiful thing to paint and build. It really is. It's good fun. And for £25, it's a good price as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on our next episode, where we're going to use our time machine and go even further back in time, and we'll do some Age of Sigmar. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And there we go. So the decal's done. All we need to do now is base him in the same way that you're going to base the rest of your army, so it looks consistent. And that's entirely up to you whether you're going to use flock or sand or anything you'd like. So there we go. One new 5mm Redemptor Dreadnought from the Warhammer, and this video is brought to you in association with the Sprue crew.